Hello my friends, and welcome to a TBR cart update video. It's been a while since I completely cleared off my TBR cart and put new books on, and that's really what I feel in the mood for today. A little bit of that spring cleaning. I just took off all the books that were on there. I did share a short giving a little tour of the books that were on there, and I just really wanted to go through my physical TBR, add books to the cart that I'm excited to read in the next while. This is kind of a bit of a spring TBR. I don't know how long it's honestly going to be, but I've got some kind of contemporary books, some fantasy, tons of classics, so I know I'm not going to get to all of them, some middle grade books, a couple of rereads, some nonfiction. We just have a little bit of everything going on here, and I'm excited just to refresh my cart, get excited about reading the books that are on it. I have not been buying a ton of physical books lately, so I don't feel like I have a ton of new stuff to put on here, but that's okay. I want to read the old stuff that I have too, so this will hopefully give me that motivation. Plus right now my other bookshelf behind here is mostly double stacked, so I don't always see all the books that I've purchased that I want to read because they might be behind some other books, and so this helps give them a little bit of time in the spotlight. So without further ado, let's just get into all of these books. I am still a mood reader. I like to create a TBR just to help me kind of narrow down my choices, but I will pick and choose throughout here and not read them all this spring for sure. But we are going to start with some Mrs. Polifax. I've got Mrs. Polifax and the Whirling Dervish. I don't know what number this is, but this is the next one that I'm on. I have talked about her a lot since I started reading this series. She is in her 60s and goes to the doctor, is feeling mildly depressed. He says, isn't there always something you wanted to, isn't there something you always wanted to do with your life? And she says, yes, I wanted to join the CIA. And sure enough, she goes and does that. Does that. I've been hanging out with little kids too long. She goes and does that. And so each book we follow her on some kind of adventure. They are kind of mystery-esque, but more espionage-esque. There's some spy stuff going on, and there is a little bit of a mystery, but it's not like a typical mystery. I love it. This one says she's in Morocco. She's in the thick of it again, in a Morocco that tourists never see. She's always, I just always get a kick out of her. I mentioned her in my Books Like Emma M. Lyon video because she is spunky and always kind of getting into these situations that normal women her age are not. So let's put her on the cart. I think I own the one after this as well if I want to read more of her. I also really want to get to Ember Gold. This is by Rochelle Nelson? I always want to say Nielsen. It got a little dusty sitting on my shelf. I think this one is, oh, it came out in March and I still have not read it, and I really want to. She is the author of Sky of Seven Colors, which I read in the fall, I think, and enjoyed. But this one has a dragon, which makes it more fun. And I don't really know much else, but it's a short fantasy. It's like 350 pages. Definitely excited to read it. Then I decided to pull out a couple books from my, I don't know, are these on my 2025 fiction TBR? They're books that I've had forever that I really want to read. One of them is Out of the Easy by Ruta Sepetys. So this is historical fiction set in the 1940s or 50s, I guess. And the main character in here, I think, is the daughter of a brothel prostitute. So it's very different than a lot of her books, but I've loved every one of hers that I read, and I trust her to deal with some hard topics. So I've owned this book for so long and I haven't read it. Hopefully this will be the push that I need to actually read it. Where else? Oh yes, Frederick Bachman. My grandmother sends her regards and apologizes. I have said I've been very 50-50 with his books. I've loved some, and then I've like DNF'd all the others. So am I going to like this one? I don't know. But this one says, to most people, 7-year-old Elsa's granny is eccentric, if not crazy. To Elsa, she's a superhero with one superpower like no other: storytelling. When Granny leaves Elsa a mysterious series of letters apologizing to those she's wronged, her stories come to life in ways Elsa could never have imagined. Which is interesting. This kind of, one of his books that I love, it kind of reminds me of this, and that is And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. And it's about a boy and his grandfather with dementia. So yeah, I have no idea where this is gonna go. I feel like I need to read those two books out of the easy, and my grandmother sends her regards and apologizes ASAP because I've had them on my shelf for so long. Also, the Frederick Bachman one has another title. It says it's something about my grandmother says she's sorry. I don't remember what the actual title is. Okay, let's get into my middle grade books. These books are kind of stacked in genre-ish piles, but also there's some other ones scattered through. I think all of these I shared about in my middle grade March TBR. Well, a pile of possibilities. I had a lot of books that I shared there, and I didn't get to these, and they're all high on my list that I want to get to. The first one is Dead City. This is Dark Days. It's book 3 in this series where there are zombies in Manhattan, but most people don't know that they're there. They're kind of living underground, literally living underground. And I've read 2 out of the 3 books, so I just want to finish this at this point. So that'll feel good to check that off. Then I also want to read book 5 in a series of unfortunate events, The Austere Academy. I really want to finish this series through, and I never got to the next book in March, so it keeps kind of taunting me on my bookshelf. So now it's going to go on here to taunt me. Then the author of Dead City is James Ponti, and he wrote the City Spies series, which I have not started. So I would like to start series 1. We follow, like, I don't know, preteens or teens that end up becoming agents for MI6, I think. So we start with Sarah. She's a hacker. She recently broke into the New York City juvenile justice system to expose her foster parents as cheats and lawbreakers. However, instead of being hailed as a hero, she finds herself facing years in a juvenile detention facility. But then comes Mother, a British spy who not only gets Sarah released from jail, but offers her a chance to make a home for herself within a secret team of young MI6 agents. And I just know young me would have loved this series, so I really want to read it. Next is Caleb and Kit. This one of the characters has cystic fibrosis, and it's one of my daughter's favorite books. Since I wasn't able to get to it in March, I really want to read it sooner rather than later. In March, I judged books based off of their first sentences, and that's the order that I put them in and read them in. And so the ones that had the best first sentences I've already read. And now we're kind of like, these ones are like the middle of the road. Doesn't mean the whole book is going to be middle of the road, just the first sentence. And well, I don't mind judging them off the first sentence sometimes. It's like, I also want to get to the book. There's a blurb at the bottom here that says it's a story reminiscent of Catherine Patterson's classic Bridge to Terabithia. So I'm also knowing that there's going to be some tears when I read this one, or I'm going to get emotional. And that can be hard to start a book when I know it's going to make me emotional. So I might also be dragging my feet for that reason. And the last middle grade book that I really want to read is The Blackbird Girls. This has to do, it says, in the wreckage of Chernobyl, a friendship is born. So we start off in April of 1986 in Ukraine, and it starts with a reactor at the nuclear power plant where these main characters' fathers both work. So yeah, I'm really curious about this one. It's something I've never read anything about, and I've heard that it's really well done. So another one that I'd like to get to. That was all for the middle grade that I wasn't able to get to, that I own, that I decided to pull off for my shelf here. Then let's go for some random non-fiction is what I'll call this section. I have a biography here. This is To a Different Drum by Pauline Hamilton. It's an adventure of radical obedience. So this is a biography about this young woman's life. She was kicked out of college and hooked on drugs on drinking and drugs, and she then drove recklessly towards a cliff near her home to end it all. But then as she's driving to the cliff, her tire blows out and she's unable to commit suicide, and then her life changes forever. So I've heard that it's really good. This is, I think it was on the list for Ambleside Online for grade 9 or 10, and that's how I originally heard about it. It's published by 10 of Those, which is an excellent Christian publishing company, and they have really good shipping. Here in Canada, their price is $1 for shipping, which we don't get very often, so I take advantage of it when I can. And I want to read more of their biographies. If you guys have read any that they have on their site that they've been publishing or republishing, let me know. My daughter read that one last year for school, and I can't remember if she actually finished it before we moved or if it's one of those things that just kind of got left unfinished, but I want to read it. One of my rereads for the year that was on my books I want to reread is The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. The subtitle is, or Why I Spent a Year Trying to Sing in the Morning, Clean My Closets, Fight Right, Read Aristotle, and Generally Have More Fun. I read this so many years ago, and it's worth a reread. It is a secular viewpoint, but I feel like I can take what she learns and put it through a Christian worldview and get a few things out of it. There is a bookmark in here. Whoever, I got it from the thrift store, whoever had it before left a cute little magnetic owl bookmark in here. So I've been wanting to reread it. It's about time I got started. Then I've been really hankering for some C.S. Lewis, and I have The Weight of Glory. It's one of the few books of his that I own that I haven't read, and it's not the one of his that like, there's a few that I really want to get to, but I don't own them, I don't think, or else they're not on this shelf at least. So this is the one that I'm putting on my cart, and I don't know anything about it. Addressing some of the most difficult issues we face in our day-to-day lives, C.S. Lewis's ardent and timeless words provide an unparalleled path to greater spiritual understanding. Considered by many to be his most moving address, The Weight of Glory extols a compassionate vision of Christianity and includes lucid and compelling discussions on forgiveness and faith. So that's why that one's on the cart. Oh, I have How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren. This one is the classic guide to intelligent reading. It is one that I maybe want to assign to my daughter for 10th grade to read next year. And I did start it one time. I got to page 6. Yeah, so obviously I need to spend a little bit more time reading it and getting a little farther than that. I'm curious about it. Sometimes books like this can feel a little bit too much like school for me and make me not want to read them, but I do actually want to read it, so hopefully I can push myself to do so. It was originally published in 1940. I'm actually quite curious about it. It's been rewritten and updated, but it says it's the best and most successful guide to reading comprehension for the general reader. I have no idea really. So we'll see if I can get some stuff out of it. And then the last nonfiction I think is A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. I have not really loved any of his books, but I keep trying them. They're so highly recommended, and I have low expectations because of my history starting in DNFing his books. So we'll see. If it's any good, maybe there will be some stuff I assign for school, but my expectations are low. Also, how can you have a short history of nearly everything in that much space? It says Bryson asks not only what and how, but more importantly, why. Yeah, it says here's science like you never learned in school. Lucid, relevant, entertaining, and often very, very funny. I want to like it. I want it to be good, but expectations are low. Now, the biggest stack here is classics. The first one is a reread. It's on my reread TBR, and that is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I previously read it in a different edition, but I'm so obsessed with these Penguin English Library ones with the orange stripe on them, and I found this one in a thrift store, so I want to reread it from this edition. Plus it came with a free bookmark. Always fun when thrift store books come with a bookmark, and then you can see how far people probably got before they stopped. I really enjoyed this book when I read it a few years ago. It was one of the few classics that just totally sucked me in. So I'm hoping my reread experience is just as good and I love it just as much. I'm a little worried I'll feel let down, but I'm hoping I love it. Then we've got Of Mice and Men, which honestly I'm putting on here because it's super short and would be easy to check off. I got this from the thrift store recently, and it's under 100 pages. I don't know anything about it, and that's okay. It's 95 pages. I don't need to know anything about it. I can just read it and easily check a box. This one I think is on my 40 before 40 list, and that is Christie by Catherine Marshall. Every time I talk about this book or any of her books, there's only good things that people say, and so I think I own 3 of her books now. I found 2, one in a little free library and one at a thrift store in the fall, and now I own 3. I need to start reading them so that I can also love her writing. This next one was on my TBR for March and I didn't get to it, and that's Sanditon. So it's the last of Jane Austen's works that I have to read. It's an unfinished work. It's 50 or 60 pages in this edition, about 60 pages. So it will be a quick read. I just ended up having too many books on my list in March, so hopefully soon. And another Elizabeth Gaskell. I got Cranford recently. This I feel like is the one of her books that I hear the most about. I don't really know anything about it, and I don't need to with her books because I just enjoy them. Even Wives and Daughters, which was a huge book, and there was like a character that I loved to hate in there. I just loved her writing, and I'm good with just knowing that going into it. Then we've got my Antonia. This one is perfect for my DIY literature degree. I think it falls in, it was written somewhere in the early 1900s. It first published 1918. That's interesting. I'm reading another book in this Macmillan edition, and it doesn't tell me when it was first published. It only says when this kind of edition was published, but this one says first published 1918. So that will be perfect for my early 1900s reading. I've heard really good things. I don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna read that. Then, I don't know if this counts as a classic. First short story was in 1946, so it's not 100 years, but we've got The Complete Stories. This is Flannery O'Connor, The Complete... Did she only write short stories? It says The Complete Stories. So I don't know anything about her, other than lots of people love her. She died at the age of 39. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe I did read one short story. Oh, I did, okay. It was for... Was it last year's Flannery O'January or something like that? I read it for something, and I don't remember anything about it. So maybe I'll reread that, or I'll just continue and slowly work through this. And then I thought I would put a George Eliot on here. Probably Silas Mariner? I don't actually know how to say that. This copy has that one, Middlemarch, The Lifted Veil, and Brother Jacob. And I've already read Middlemarch, which I'm assuming is the biggest section in here. Wait, it's the end? So it looks like Middlemarch is this whole last bit, and then the first bit is the other 3? Yes. Okay, so I would like to read 1 to 3 of the other books in here that are not Middlemarch. It will also feel really good to check it off because it is so many pages, but most of it's Middlemarch, which I did not love. So I'm like, am I gonna love other books by her? I'm not sure. This book, I feel bad. I keep saying I'm going to read it. What Katie Did Next. Oh man, every time I pick it up, I'm like, I want to read this. This is book 3 in the What Katie Did series, and she spends the year of this book traveling Europe. Sounds amazing. Why have I not read it? I don't know. Plus we've got London on the cover. We've got Big Ben there. I have no excuse. I thought I would throw another S.E. Hinton on here. It's short, as her books are. Some people like That Was Then, This Is Now better than The Outsiders. I do not think that this will win out, in my opinion, but I'm willing to give it a try. One of my classics for the year, oh man, if a book sits on a shelf, it gets a ton of cat hair on it. The Betsy Tacy Treasury. I know this will be a fast read when I eventually pick it up because the font is so large in this book, and there are tons of illustrations, some that are bigger than others. So it'll be a fast read. I should read this for a Patreon page count reading challenge. That's a good pick. That'll give me lots of pages. And the last one that I'm gonna put on my cart today is The Man Who Was Thursday, A Nightmare by G.K. Chesterton. He's my literary mentor for the year, and I keep mentioning that I want to read this book and I still haven't. So I'm actually hoping to get to it like in April, maybe May if I need to push it back, but it's short. I've heard very conflicting thoughts on this book. People either love it or hate it, and they think I'm like, half of them think I'm gonna love it and half of them think I'm gonna hate it. So I'm very curious to read it. And it is a modern library classic, which I'm realizing I really like the floppiness of their classics. It's what I'm currently reading Anna Karenina from. So it's a good reading experience with those kinds of books, those editions. That is my TBR cart. I'm probably actually gonna move these books down here and then put my library books and currently reading books on top. I used to keep the bottom free for Tolkien, but ever since I moved it to a different area of my room, he doesn't want to sleep in it. He only wanted to sleep in it when it was like right here. Cats can be so very picky, and it is what it is. So yeah, 2 shelves worth. How many of these books do you think I will read by, let's say, mid-June, like in the next 2 months? There is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 26 books on here. How many do you think I will read by mid-June? My guess is like 5, which is a pathetic percentage, but that is my guess. I'm curious to hear your number down below. If I can remember, I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna write myself a note to update somewhere, maybe in a short, with how many books I ended up reading by mid-June. Let me know if you've read any of these. If you've enjoyed any of them, please like brag them up in the comments so I'm excited to pick that particular one up. That always helps me a lot. And if you want to kind of like very, very loosely buddy read one with me, let me know. I'm not very good at buddy reads, so I mean very loosely. Yeah, because I might be a complete failure as far as the buddy read goes, but it also gives me some extra motivation when I'm buddy reading. So let me know. Thanks for helping me fill my TBR cart.